What if Tanjiro learned all 14 breathing styles? Tanjiro Kamado is defined by his adaptability. He started with water, adapted to sun, and even mimicked thunder breathing to save his life. But what if his innovative spirit had no limits? In the Demon Slayer universe, all breathing styles are branches of a single tree, sun breathing. As the wielder of the original sun, Tanjiro theoretically holds the master key to every single technique. So what would happen if he unlocked them all? What if Tanjiro became the avatar of the Demon Slayer Corps, mastering every single form of swordsmanship to become the ultimate weapon against Muzan? We know Tanjiro borrowed the concept of Godspeed from Zenitsu to defeat Daki, but what if he didn't stop there? What if he realized that every breathing style was just a different dialect of the same language? Well, I found 3 different theories. In the first theory, we explore the awakening of versatility. In this timeline, the divergence begins right after the Entertainment District arc. While recovering from his coma, Tanjiro spends time meditating, not just on his family's Hinokami Kagoda, but on the movements of his friends. He realizes that sun breathing is powerful, but it puts a massive strain on his body, draining his stamina too quickly. Water breathing is great for defense, but lacks destructive power. He realizes he needs tools for every situation. He starts experimenting immediately. He asks Inosuke to teach him the wild, low-to-the-ground movements of beast breathing. He asks Zenitsu to explain the specific lung expansion required for thunder breathing. The first major test of this new multi-style Tanjiro happens with the Swordsmith Village arc. In the original timeline, Tanjiro struggled immensely against Hantengu's clones because they split up and attacked from long range. But here, Tanjiro adapts. When Karaku, the wind clone, blasts them with his fan, Tanjiro doesn't just get blown away, he switches to wind breathing, 7th form, Gale Sudden Gusts. By matching the wind pressure, he stabilizes himself in midair. When the clones try to overwhelm him with speed, Tanjiro switches to sound breathing. Although he doesn't have Tengen's musical score completed yet, he uses the principle of roar to create explosive, disorienting clashes with his sword, throwing the clones off their rhythm. But the biggest change comes when tracking Hantengu's body. In canon, Tanjiro struggled to sniff out the tiny demon in the sulfur-rich air of the hot springs. Here, Tanjiro plunges his sword into the ground and switches to beast breathing, 7th Fang. Spatial awareness. He locates the main body instantly, using thunder-breathing footwork to blitz through the forest, catching the tiny demon before it can even run. This rapid victory allows him to return to the village center much faster. Because he returns early, he supports Mitsuri against Zohakuten. He uses water breathing to flow around Zohakuten's wood dragons, acting as a shield for Mitsuri. With Tanjiro covering her defense using stone breathing principles he picked up from observation, Mitsuri can focus entirely on defense. They defeat Zohakuten quickly, and the Swordsmith village suffers significantly less damage. Now, that's just the battlefield improvisation. But what if Tanjiro formerly studied under every master? In the second theory, the Hashira training arc becomes the most important arc for Tanjiro's development. In the original story, this arc was about boosting basic physical stats, but in this timeline, Tanjiro treats it as a university of swordsmanship. He goes to each Hashira not just to train, but to learn their secrets. With Tengen Uzui, he masters sound breathing. He learns how to read the rhythm of his opponents, effectively gaining a form of precognition against standard attacks. With Muichiro Tokito, he learns mist breathing. He masters the 7th form, obscuring clouds. Tanjiro learns to fluctuate his tempo, making his movements seem slow one moment and blindingly fast the next, confusing his enemy's senses. With Mitsuri Kanroji, he studies love breathing. While he doesn't have her muscle density or a whip sword, he learns the extreme flexibility and acrobatic aerial maneuvers required for forms like cat-legged winds of love, allowing him to fight in tight spaces or midair with ease. With Obanai Iguro, he learns serpent breathing. He masters the art of making his blade travel in impossible winding trajectories, allowing him to strike around guards and shields. With Sanami Shinazugawa, he learns the raw aggression of wind breathing. He masters the 1st form, Dust Whirlwind Cutter, turning himself into a human tornado. He even helps Inosuke refine his beast breathing by showing him its wind roots. With Gyomei Himejima, he learns the ultimate defense, stone breathing. He masters Stone Skin, standing under the waterfall until he can tighten his muscles to repel impact. He even tracks down Shinjuro Ringoku. He bows and asks to learn flame breathing properly to honor Kyojuro. Shinjuro, moved by the boy who carries his son Tsuba, teaches him the 9 forms of flame. Tanjiro masters the explosive power of the 9th form, Rengoku. By the time the training ends, Tanjiro isn't just a sun breather, he's a master of all trades. Then the Infinity Castle arc begins. Tanjiro and Giyu face Akaza. This fight is personal. Akaza killed Rengoku. Tanjiro steps forward, his aura shifting. He starts with flame breathing, mirroring Rengoku's stance. Akaza laughs, excited to fight a Rengoku legacy. They clash, and Tanjiro matches Akaza's power. But then Akaza deploys his compass needle. He adapts to the flame style. Suddenly, Tanjiro shifts. He drops the aggression. He enters the selfless state derived from sun breathing, but he couples it with the movements of mist breathing. Akaza's compass needle, which relies on sensing fighting spirit and trajectory, goes haywire. Tanjiro is there, but he feels like nothing. He is mist. Then he strikes with the weight of stone breathing, smashing through Akaza's defense. Akaza is overwhelmed by the constant switching. Every time he adapts to one style, Tanjiro switches to another. Water for defense, Serpent for tricky angles, Thunder for speed. Gyu and Tanjiro decapitate Akaza with significantly less damage taken than in the original timeline. Until now, we've seen him win 1v1s, but the final boss is Muzan. Let's see what happens in theory number 3. In this timeline, Tanjiro combines everything into a single flowing dance of death, the omni-breathing style. The setting is the sunrise countdown. The Hashira are dropping. Muzan is unleashing his thigh whips, back whips, and sonic screams. It's a blender of death. In the canon, the Hashira had to sacrifice their limbs and lives just to buy Tanjiro seconds. Here, Tanjiro enters the fray not just as a fighter, but as a conductor of the orchestra. When Muzan unleashes a massive shockwave, Tanjiro doesn't just block, he uses wind breathing, Idaten Typhoon. He spins his body against the rotation of Muzan's blast, neutralizing the air pressure and creating a calm eye of the storm, where Obanai and Mitsuri can recover. He doesn't just fight for himself, he becomes a force multiplier for the Hashira. When Sanemi launches a wind torrent, Tanjiro harmonizes with it using wind breathing, doubling the vortex's size to clear a path. When Gyomei strikes with his flail, Tanjiro uses stone breathing principles to strike the exact same point milliseconds later, shattering Muzan's bone armor that even Gyomei couldn't crack alone. There's a critical moment where Mitsuri Kanroji is about to be ripped apart by Muzan's suction attack, the same attack that took her out of the fight in the original. Tanjiro senses the pressure build up with beast-breathing spatial awareness. He screams a warning and instantly switches to love breathing. He mimics Mitsuri's flexibility, whipping his body in an impossible arc to intercept the attack, parrying it with a water-breathing soft block that saves the love Hashira from fatal injury. But the true end comes from the 13th form. The 13th form of sun breathing is a continuous cycle of 12 forms, but Tanjiro evolves it. It's not just a cycle of sun forms anymore, it's a symphony of war. He launches Solar Dragon Halo Dance, but he layers thunder breathing into his legs. He moves so fast that the friction literally burns the air around him, creating a dragon of lightning and fire. He transitions into fake rainbow, but enhances the after images with mist breathing, making the dragon look like a phantom. Muzan strikes the after images only to find empty air. He strikes with Fire Wheel, but adds the weight of stone breathing, crushing Muzan's flesh rather than just slicing it. And crucially, he coats his blade in wisteria poison using insect breathing techniques. Not enough to kill Muzan, but enough to burn him and slow his regeneration for the split second Tanjiro needs to land the next hit. Muzan is terrified. He looks at Tanjiro and doesn't just see Yorichi. Yorichi was a singular, divine anomaly, but Tanjiro represents the collective effort of all humanity. He sees the serpent, the stone, the wind, the insect, all woven into one boy. Tanjiro targets all 12 of Muzan's vital organs simultaneously. He uses serpent breathing to curve his blade around Muzan's bone guards, to stab the hearts directly. He uses wind breathing to shred the brains. As the sun begins to rise, Muzan is pinned. He tries to escape, to burrow underground. Tanjiro switches to stone breathing, slamming his sword into the earth to create a tremor that forces Muzan back up. The sun hits. Muzan disintegrates. In this timeline, the cost is high on Tanjiro's body. Switching between the lung pressures of thunder, stone, and flame breathing tears his muscles and blood vessels. He collapses, blood pouring from his eyes and nose. His body barely held together by the breathing control of stone. But because of his efficiency, Gyomei, Obanai, and Mitsuri all survive. They didn't have to sacrifice themselves to shield him. He shielded them. Tanjiro survives, surrounded by the friends he saved, having proven that the unity of all styles was the true key to defeating the Demon King. In this theory, Tanjiro represents the culmination of the entire Demon Slayer history, every style, every sacrifice, woven into one blade. But this makes me wonder, if Tanjiro could master all the breathing styles of the humans, what if he created his own unique breathing style and became a pioneer? Well, that's the subject of this other video. Click on this video to see what happens when Tanjiro creates his own breathing style. Go ahead, click it.